All right, then yeah, we'll get started. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. I know it's like a super beautiful night and you're stuck in an office, although some of you may be outside with it looks like Danielle's outside. Dawn is somewhere in the mountains in Mexico. Sue is on a beach. So maybe some of you are outside, so that's all right. But anyway, thank you for taking the time to join us. We know there's a lot of information and a lot of important information, especially given that it's been a couple of years that we've been out of commission. So hopefully you'll find this really informative and answer some of the questions that I know some of you have been asking about, next steps with the program. So like I said, we're going to start with a short icebreaker. I promise it's not anything too annoying or involved. It's really just if you can let everybody know your name, your position with Youth Exchange, how long you've been involved in Youth Exchange, whether it's 2 days or 10 years, just so we can get an idea of the variety here in terms of people and experience, which is good. And just let us know your favorite cocktail. I kept it easy. And I might even try to remember so that, if the opportunity comes, who knows, you might show up to a conference and have your favorite cocktail waiting for you. So it might entice you to come to a conference too. So. Okay, so I'm gonna just start in the top corner of my screen and work my way across. Shirley, you are up first. Oh, you're still muted there. Let's unmute you.
Thank you.
There we go.
My name is Shirley Bonneveld. I'm with the Rotary Club of Walkerton, and I'm the Youth Exchange Counselor for the club. And I've been involved with the Rotary Youth Exchange for a very long time, hosting students in the 90s and the late 80s, and then becoming involved as Youth Exchange Officer and now Youth Exchange Counselor for the last few years. And my favorite summer cocktail is gin and tonic.
Nice, nice. Awesome. Thank you, Shirley. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
And I don't actually think you and I have met in person. So it's really nice to finally, we're still not in person, but at least I have a face to match to a name now. So that's great. All right. Thank you. So on to Ross and Roseanne.
Hi. I guess I'll go first because you said my name first.
I did.
And I'm pushier sometimes. I'm Ross Barnett. Somehow I'm now the chair of 6330 Youth Exchange. Roseanne came home 20-some years ago and said, by the way, I've volunteered as to host an exchange student. And now here I am.
That doesn't sound anything like Roseanne.
My favorite cocktail is whatever one I'm having on the beach with Roseanne in Cuba.
Good point. Good point. All right. And Roseanne.
I'm Roseanne Field. We are married, even though we have different names. For some reason, a whole bunch of exchange students for the longest time had a very strange idea about us. Discovered that accidentally. I am the district counselor. Ross wanted me to come on so people know what my role is. In terms of training, I'm involved with working on students, so making sure they know about stuff like systematic relaxation, anxiety management, cognitive behavioral strategies when they start getting stressed and depressed. In terms of inbound, I'm available when we get kids who are really homesick, kids who have significant culture shock, or when things happen back home that kids are having to deal with. I've done it for outbounds as well when a family member has passed away and they just need extra support. So I am a registered clinical psychologist, so that's why what I do is I provide support. I spend a lot of time online because of that, and at very strange hours, because I maintain contact with kids in the different countries.
Awesome. Thanks, Roseanne. On to Donna.
Oh, my favorite cocktail is gin and tonic with chocolate mint from my garden.
Oh, that's a nice little twist on that. That sounds really refreshing right now, actually. All right. Thank you, Roseanne. On to Donna.
You can run away.
Hello, everyone. I am Donna Rudell from the Wyerton Rotary Club. I am the YEO. I have been involved with Rotary and Youth Exchange for 8 years, I think it is. And my favorite drink right now is a French martini.
So what makes it a French martini?
I'm not sure what's in it.
It's just really good, right?
Very, very good. It's not very big. It's a small, very short drink, but I love it.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thanks, Donna. Welcome. On to Don Moore.
Hey, I'm Don Moore. I am a past district chair of the Youth Exchange Program. I've worked my way up through the district committee. I am also the immediate past chair of Central States Rotary, and I'm also a past district governor. And I've been involved with Youth Exchange shortly after I joined Rotary, starting in 1997. And so I've only hosted one student. That was 1 year. We had a boy from Thailand. Enjoyed him very much, and I still keep in touch with him. And my favorite drink is a rum and thyme.
Nice. All right. Okay. Thanks, Don. On to Paul. Paul, you're up next.
Yep, Paul McNeil, I'm the YEO for the Owen Sound Rotary Club. I think I've lost track, probably 10 years, maybe. I don't know. Let's go with a Caesar for a drink.
All right. Nice. Awesome. All right. And Rhonda.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Knoll. I'm with the Rotary Club of Watford. Involved in youth exchange for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, hosted a couple of students, one from Austria, one from Japan. And my family is long time lifers of Rotary Exchange. My favorite cocktail is tequila, either straight up if it's a good one, or tequila and soda.
Okay. Cutting to the chase there. All right. Thanks, Rhonda. And when she mentioned the family connection, she's actually my aunt. So she's Aunt Rhonda. So I'm part of that family connection that's been long involved in youth exchange. All right. On to Alice.
Hi, I'm with the Godrich Rotary Club. I've been with the club for about 3 years, and I am the YEC. And I'm doing the training, I think, for the very first time. So I don't have a lot of experience since we've had the pandemic and everything. So I'm looking forward to this session. And let's see, my favorite drink, it's not really a favorite, but one I enjoy is a good margarita.
Nice. Amen. All right. Thanks, Alice. And Erin.
Hi, I'm from the Rotary Club of Port Elgin, and I've been involved with the Youth Exchange Program as YEC for about 6 years and Youth Service Director for 6 years, about that, not the same years, different years. Right now I'm vocational and mentoring, but just before COVID, our club decided to opt out of the Youth Exchange, and we had been involved since 1982. So I am on the call because I really hope that it will be reinstated in our club and we can get the energy back up again. I think of the youth exchange as world peace, one student at a time.
Oh, amazing. Thanks, Erin. Awesome.
Oh, and I like wine all year.
Perfect. I keep forgetting the actual question that we set up. So thank you, Erin. Marianne, you're next.
Hi, I'm Marianne Kundig, and I am YEC of the Watford Rotary Club. I've been involved with the Youth Exchange for about 10 years. I worked with Marg Hollingsworth for many years before she passed away. And I also have had Youth Exchange students in my home, even before I was a Rotarian. My favorite drink is wine or vodka and tonic with lime.
Nice, refreshing. Thanks, Marianne. Okay, on to Sue.
Hi, I'm Sue Bandine, and I'm a YEC for St. Thomas Railway City Rotary. And we just started in 2018. We've only sent outbounds once and received inbound once, but it was a very positive experience. My partner in crime is Al Gardner, and he's just joined us, but I guess I go back to Rotary Exchange in 1978-9 when I was a student and I was sponsored by the Woodstock Rotary Club. So over 40 years, and I've finally had the opportunity to pay it back. So I'm enjoying the role. And my favorite summer drink, well, anytime, is gin and tonic with a twist of lime. So thanks for hosting, Kirk.
Yeah, thank you for being here, Sue. Appreciate it. All right, and Mark, you're next.
Thanks, Kirk. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mark Oliver. I'm with the Rotary Club of St. Mary's. Sue, don't feel bad. In 1981-82, I was an outbound exchange student to Australia. I've been involved with Rotary for 7 years now. I am just together with Marika, I am newly anointed to co-inbound coordinator for the district. I am also the youth exchange officer for the Rotary Club of St. Mary's. Probably my favorite summertime drink, and I've been known to drink it in other seasons other than summer too, is a good gin and tonic with a twist of lime as well.
All right, awesome. Thank you. And next we have Dawn.
So unlike the previous two folks to introduce themselves, I've only been involved with youth exchange for 36 years.
Spring chicken.
I was a outbound exchange student in 1985 to Finland. I've been involved with the district committee since the year 2000, and most recently 5 years as the district chair until I convinced Ross to take over. And I'm now country correspondent for the Nordic countries for our Central States Rotary Youth Exchange. And my preferred summer drink is any sessionable sort of beer. So low in alcohol, high in flavor, and very refreshing.
All right, cool, thanks, Dawn. And Danielle.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle. I've been involved in youth exchange since I married into it. And that will be 21 years tomorrow, Dawn, just as a reminder. What Dawn Borg also forgot to mention is he is also the esteemed conference coordinator with me. And I'm also the secretary. So I do the administration, and any questions that anyone ever has about send them my way. I have a special super overlord status, and I can help you and help your problems go away. Because I'm also conference coordinator, I'm recognizing right now that my favorite cocktail is also a gin and tonic, and I make the shopping list. So just gonna throw it out there to the universe. Next time there may be room on that list for a bottle of gin and some tonic.
Perfect. Good thing we don't have to follow the 4 Ds, eh? All right, thanks, Danielle. And Brian.
Hello, my name is Brian Anderson, and I'm with the CSRYE Club, a new YEO. I was YEC for a bit there. I've only been involved for a few years.
Sorry, I'm gonna call.
And my favorite, I'm going to say my favorite drink is just a cold beer any time of the year. So I'm glad to be part of the program, and thank you, Kirk, for hosting, and looking forward to what we've got tonight. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for being here. He didn't say anything, but Brian actually goes by the alter ego of Mr. Anderson, aka my grade 11 history teacher. So I got to tell you, having to call someone Rhonda when they're Aunt Rhonda, or Brian when they're Mr. Anderson, man, that's a mind shift for sure. So anyway, it's really cool that you're in Rotary now and we're working together. So that's awesome. All right, and Heather and Damon, I see.
Hi, I'm Heather Offord. I'm the new youth exchange officer for Thornbury Clarksburg Rotary Club. I have been involved with Rotary Youth Exchange since I was 2, when my dad Rick Offord hosted a student, and I've by association been involved since then. So I'm taking over that role. And my favorite cocktail is a Greyhound.
What is a Greyhound?
Fresh. Well, I only like it when it's fresh squeezed grapefruit juice and vodka.
Oh, and vodka. Oh, okay. Okay. So nice and simple. Nice. Okay, cool. And is Damon, okay.
And this is Damon. Yeah, he just came off a long shift.
Gotcha.
My name's Damon. I'm the YEC. I guess this is 3 years for me, although last year we didn't really do anything. And my favorite cocktail. I don't often drink cocktails, but it would be a Boulevard Day.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Damon and Heather. Peter, you are up next. Oh, Peter, you're muted there. I'm going to click unmute and see if that, there we go. Perfect.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm with the Southampton Rotary Club. I think I'm acting YEO, and we started to get involved for the 1919-1920 exchange, which of course fizzled. So our experiences is all in the future.
That's right. Well, I feel you, Peter. It was my first year as an outbound coordinator, and I did such a good job that nobody got sent home. I'm not going to mention that nobody happened to go on exchange, but no one got sent home either. So that's pretty good.
Well done. So we've got lots of learning coming up. We had a bit of a gap where we didn't have many students, either outgoing or inbound. We had one gal, Anissa, and our family did act as a host family for 3 months. So we got a little bit of an idea of what it was about and got pretty well hooked into the program, which we think is a great program. And my favorite drink probably is a good cold beer.
Perfect. All right. Thanks a lot, Peter. Okay. Helen, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Helen Grant. I'm with the Rotary Club of Port Elgin. I've been, I was at the Rotary Club in Wyerton. And hi, Donna. And also hi, Aaron. I have been the Youth Services Director for 2.5 years and enjoying every moment of it. Never was involved with youth exchange at all. And like Aaron said, we did opt out of it, but between Aaron and I, we're pretty strong personalities, and we'll see if we can get it reactivated. I'm not a drinker really, but I do enjoy the odd red or white wine.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Helen. Well, you're about to learn about the best youth service that Rotary has to offer. So get ready, buckle up, because it's going to be exciting.
Okay.
Good. All right. Thanks, Helen. On to Sue.
Hi, I'm Sue Stock. I'm with the Rotary Club of Grand Bend. My experience with youth exchange is 0. So I'm hoping this is my first step to really getting some good education and seeing, I think, like Helen and maybe Aaron, trying to just re-energize our interest in the program. So again, thanks, Kirk, for doing this. This is a wonderful first step for us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Sue. Al. Oh, you're muted there, Al. Let's try that.
Am I good now?
You're good now.
Okay, I'm Al Gardner, and I'm the YEO for the St. Thomas Railway City Rotary Club. And we've just had one set of exchanges, and as Sue said, it went well, but we're excited about the future. And Muskoka Cream Ale is something you can drink all year round.
Nice. All right, thanks, Al. Alex.
Nice to see everybody. I'm Alex Purdom from the Rotary Club of London South. I'm the Youth Exchange Officer in my first year, so looking forward to learning lots. Like many others, my favorite drink is a cold beer after a round of golf.
Nice. All right, thanks, Alex. Aiden.
Hi, I'm Aiden. Technically, I don't have any position in Rotary Youth Exchange as of right now, because technically I'm not actually a Rotarian right now. But I have been involved with Youth Exchange since 99. My parents have hosted a bajillion students. And then I was a Rotary Youth Exchange Outbound. In 2005, I went to Brazil. I went the same year as Kirk. So I've been friends with Kirk for that long. And hoping to get myself included with the Goddard's Club in the very near future. I was with the Mitchell Club for the last 8 years, but we just relocated. Yeah, and my favorite drink is either a cider or a gin and tonic.
Perfect. All right. And Aiden doesn't know yet, but I'm going to leverage those years of friendship to get her to help me with our new social media endeavors for Rotary Exchange. Yay!
Yay!
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Aiden. And Mike, you're next.
Thanks for mentioning who your parents are there, Aiden.
I was leaving that part out on purpose.
Is this me, Kirk, you're talking to?
You're good. Yeah, Mike McMillan. Yeah, you're good, Mike.
Okay, I'm Mike McMillan. I've been a Rotarian, I guess, for, wow, 8 years already. Goes by fast. And from the day I joined Rotary, we have been a very active participant in Wyerton, in the Youth Exchange program. In fact, even when I was president of our club, I was still YEC and still continue to be YEC. And yes, Danielle, I will be getting my my security check updated. My favorite drink, I'm a bit of a wine aficionado, so pretty much any kind of wine that goes with any kind of food.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Mike. And over to Wade.
There we go. My audio is working there now.
Oh, it just cut out again. As you finish saying my audio is cutting out, it quit. You want to try that again? No, it's still not working. I'm muted. Wade, can you hear us? I feel like he can't hear us because his audio is not working. All right, I'm going to mute him and try unmuting. In the meantime, I'm going to get Suzanne to introduce herself if she's still there, and I'm going to let Wade know that we couldn't hear him.
I am still here. I am the YEO for Walkerton. I've been involved with Rotary since 1999, where I was an outbound to Mexico. And I've hosted many students over the years. I think we're up to like 20 some. And then my son was also an exchange student last year to Finland. So I've been involved for a couple of years now. And my favorite cocktail is a pina colada or a paloma.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Oh, and Wade logged out, must be logging back in. And I think our last one is Marika.
Hey everyone, my name is Marika Henning. I'm with Rotary Club of Kincardine. I was an outbound to Mexico many years ago. My son has also been out on exchange to Chile, who unfortunately had to come back early due to the pandemic. We've hosted, I'm YEO for my club. Prior to that, I was YEC for a year, and I am on the district committee as future inbound coordinator along with Mark, and have been involved with Youth Exchange over the years and really enjoy it. And it's nice to see everybody here. And
Awesome,
cocktail, I'd probably say Virgin Mojito.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Marika. And okay, on to Wade. Do you want to try that again? Your audio cut out the second you said my audio was cutting out. I don't know if you want to give it another shot.
Yeah, that was really strange there.
There we go. There we go. Looks, sounds like you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Sorry,
All right,
go again.
Okay, we'll try to do it quick. My name is Wade Coombs. I'm with the St. Thomas Railway City Rotary Club. And we brought the Rotary Youth Exchange into our club on my presidency year. So I was very proud to champion that in there. And so I'm basically the backup YEO, YEC, and all around champion for the program. Try to be involved in all the different aspects of it, and actually looking to potentially be involved at the district level and help you guys out. Working at the conferences is a blast, and I would like to try to get involved with that a little bit more. So that's why I'm here. And as far as the drink goes, whatever's being served is all that matters. So,
right, beggars can't be choosers, right?
That's right.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Wade. Okay, did I miss anyone? I feel like that's everyone on my screen, but okay, awesome. So my name is Kirk, as most of you know. I am the outbound coordinator for the district. I've been involved in Youth Exchange for, I guess, 4 years now since I became a Rotarian. And before that, as Aiden said, I was a Youth Exchange student, same year as Aiden. We both went to Brazil. And my favorite cocktail, I would probably say, is a Caesar as well. But those gin and tonics are sounding really refreshing on a day like today. So I might be changing my answer. But all right, thank you everybody so much. I know that took a little bit longer than we might have expected, and there's some people probably sighing right now, but you know, one of the things we recognize is that being such a big district, geographically speaking, is that it sucks that we don't really know each other super well. And you know, you drop off your inbound or you're outbound at a conference, and then you leave and you don't come back till Sunday morning. And one of the things that we're trying to do as a district committee is encourage you folks to, you know, get help from each other and support each other and come to us and feel comfortable doing that. And I think part of it starts with just knowing each other, right? Knowing who's been around for a long time, who hasn't, who's got tons of experience, who needs help. So again, I know introductions take a little while, but I do appreciate you bearing with us. So, all right, and I'm going to pass it over to our esteemed chair, Ross.
Hi, you're going to have to, there we go. Kirk is in control of the slides. So if I start rambling aimlessly, it's because he hasn't advanced the slide. So we've done our introductions. Woohoo! This is our quick agenda. Well, hopefully it's quick. Depends on how fast I can talk. We'll talk about club commitments, the jobs of the YEO, the YEC. We'll talk some about host families, our outbound program, that lovely database program, that Danielle loves so much. and we're building a YEO YEC toolkit / handbook that's a Google document so it's available to you online all the time. If for some reason, if you want to look for an answer there, you can. Otherwise, at the very least, it has our contact information, and you can just call somebody on the district committee. And by the way, after 3 phone calls, you're on the committee. Just kidding. We have time for, hopefully some time for questions, and then a recap. Next slide. That's you, Kirk. Okay, this is our, I love that picture of me. I don't know how we got that one, but anyway, I'm now the chair. Don's not run away. He is sharing the role of conference coordinator with Danielle, but he's also there to help me make sure I don't make too big of a mess of things. Our inbound coordinators are Marika and Mark that you met already. You met Kirk. So Danielle's kind of my right hand, saved me from all of the horrible pile of email person, aka secretary. You met my wife Roseanne. She's our counselor. Harry Houston is not here. He looks after our money and does a very good job of it as their treasurer. And Grace McClure is our Rotex director. We have a great Rotex team. You have to come out to a conference to meet these guys. Their energy is amazing. That's all for that one. Next, Kirk. Oh dear, I got to change my screen. I was trying to have everybody's picture so I could see people, but now the rating's gotten too small. There we go. Oh, now everybody's heads have gotten really small. This is terrible. I didn't catch that chat thing. Just some terminology. A lot of you will know this, but things once you've been around for a while, things we throw around. RI is Rotary International. RYE is Rotary Youth Exchange. Oh, that wasn't the last slide I looked at. MOE, I never used that. Ministry of Education. Department of State, that's on the American side. They make a lot of rules for us. CSIET, that's they say Council on Standards of International Education. Then another one makes rules. CSRYE, that one's important. Central States Rotary Youth Exchange. YEO, well, that's some of you folks. Youth Exchange Officer. YEC, that's also you guys. Youth Exchange Counselors. Inbounds, that's the people that are coming to us. Outbounds are the ones we are sending away. And the rebounds are the ones we get back after they've been away. The Rotex are the folks that stick around and help us with the work of the committee and help train the outbounds. And YEA is that lovely Youth Exchange Administration Hub database program. Any questions on that one? I did that really fast because I know some people know it. I'm hoping that I didn't confuse anybody.
If you want, well, you can submit questions in the chat, and then we can either like answer them in real time if it makes sense to you, or kind of save them till the end if they're a question kind of for the end. So feel free to either unmute yourself or go ahead and pop them in the chat, and we'll answer when it makes sense to you.
Well, okay, while I'm doing my section, can you keep an eye on the chat, Kirk? I can't read 2 things at once.
Absolutely.
I'm dyslexic. I have a hard time just reading the screen. So the things that kind of set our regulatory framework, the policies that govern what we do. The main one is the Rotary International Rotary Code of Policy, which Dawn has made me read. It's one of those things you kind of have to read once or twice to be before, just the first time you fall asleep and it goes into your head. It's a lovely document. But there's a lot of policies in there that we govern how youth exchanges run. Central States has another set of policies that complement and flesh out some of the RI policies. the Department of State has all kinds of rules that we have to follow on the American side, and that also influences a lot of how central states policies are set. So in effect, they affect us greatly. More importantly, on the Canadian side is the citizenship and immigration rules. That's visas primarily. International embassies and consulates are who we have to work with to get visas to send our outbounds away. Unfortunately, their rules seem to change yearly, if not weekly. And of course, then we have the school boards and officials on the inbound and the outbound side to we have to keep happy. The big one there is our reciprocity issues. So making sure that we can actually that we send somebody away so we can bring somebody in and not have to pay tuition. Next. There we go. Oh, this is our fantastic central states map. It's filled in a little from the last time you might have seen it. There's now 20 districts. As you can see, we cover a huge territory. Some of those western and northern districts are geographically significantly larger than we are, and our district's pretty darn big. And they don't send as many kids out as we do, but they cover a lot of turf. Next. This map shows just 3 of our districts. That's us in the peach, I guess that color is. That's 6330 going from Tobermory over to down to St. Thomas and then over to Flint. A new district to the Central States Organization is 6380 in pink. They cover basically Chatham, Kent, and a chunk of Michigan. And then 6400 is Detroit, Windsor, and a little of the surrounding territory. And the reason that we're showing you this one is that the district committee has been working with the committees for those other 2 districts to combine our efforts so that we can share our interview conference and our outbound training. And geographically it works. Go ahead. Yeah, there we go. Our club commitments. As some of you know, we work ahead of time, a year in advance for our commitments. I have to tell Central States how many kids we're willing to take in. So for the 2022-23 year, which is what we're working towards right now, that's what we're going to be recruiting soon, is those kids that are going to leave in 2022 and that will arrive for next summer for going to school here. I need to know I need to know your commitment by November 30th this year, so that I can tell the Central States folks, so they can tell the country correspondents, so that the trades can all happen. The club fee has gone down. Yay, thanks, Harry. For 22-23, it's $1,250 Canadian. There's no Americans here, so it doesn't matter that it's $1,000 US. Part of the commitment, there's a form you probably haven't seen for a few years. It designates who the YEO is, who the YEC is, and says, yes, we're going to play. And you promise to organize things for the school and get host families, and you promise to host an outbound. Reciprocity, that's our last thing here. Send one, receive one, send one. Basically, we have to send away a student that is registered at a school in Ontario to be able to get one. So they can't be graduated to count as part of that. And it all depends on school boards. It's all within a school board. Some school boards are nice to us and give us sort of a bracket to work within. Sort of, if we send extras 1 year, then we have a little grace and we can bring in an extra one the next year. But for the most part, it has to be within the year. Avon Maitland, for example, needs to send away 10 kids to be able to receive 10 kids. Any questions on that one?
Yeah, Ross, Donna is asking, where do we get the form? And I believe it's the form to pledge your commitment for the, well, pledge, anyway, commit for the next year.
I will send that out as soon as I have it. I wasn't too worried about that form just yet because we hadn't had this meeting. I will send it out after this meeting. And Kirk will include it in the toolkit so that if you, he's making a note on that now. If you lose my email, it'll be in the toolkit. So when you finish making your note, we'll go to the next slide. Right on. Okay. So in terms of our inbound program, this is kind of showing the difference between YEO and YEC. The YEO is the legal guardian of the inbound student. So you are legally the parent in absentia for that kid. You are responsible. The YEC is the guide, the advisor, the advocate, the cool aunt or uncle. Yeah, let's do the next slide. I think it gets into more explanation there. If I keep talking, yeah, there we go. Sorry, this graphic kills me. Thanks, Kirk. So more about the YEC. I wish my wife was here to get me a drink. It's someone, the idea is you want to have a trusting relationship. You need to have a regular communication with the student, listen to the student's concern, establish a rapport with them, go to have coffee if they have coffee. Most kids do these days. Find something you can do so you can communicate, preferably not just at a Rotary meeting. I mean, who knows what those are going to look like in the years to come anyway. So as I say, you need to listen to them, you need to meet with them on a regular basis. You need to, hopefully they will rely on you to be their advocate should they need it. If there is, whoa, my screen just changed size. That was weird. If there's conflict in the host family with the club or with the YEO, you're there to represent that inbound point of view. Partly because your English is going to be better than theirs. And hopefully you won't disagree too much with their point of view. But anyway, they need somebody on their side, and that's you. Yeah, there we go. YEO. So now I think Kirk made a fundamental error with this graphic that based on everything I've seen, this should have been Superwoman, not a guy. But YEO, everything else on the outbound side, this is you. Basically, all that we're going to talk about, this is the YEO's job. So that's what you signed up for. Everything. You name it, it's your job. So next slide. That's why you get to be Superwoman or Superman. First biggie is host family recruitment. You got to keep talking about it year round to get enough host families. That's, I think, the hardest part. It's easier, I think, to find kids that want to go away than it is to find families that want to host. Start with your club members. At one point, I thought I had exhausted all of my potential hosts in our club. And then, of course, we get new members. So keep asking, keep talking about it. You never know who's going to be willing to host. A few years ago, we had a fabulous host family that I never would have considered. They were in their 80s and they absolutely lovely people, and the student adored them. It worked out really, really well. There is no perfect host family. You never know who's going to work out, whether they're old or young. Sometimes, I mean, as a YEO looking for host families, I shied away from some of the older folks, just because, once kids are out of the house, maybe they're not interested anymore. But as I say, we had this one couple, they were in their 80s and it worked out great. And whether or not they have kids doesn't really make it perfect or either, but let's go to the next slide. That's enough about that one. Okay, yes, they do not have to be Rotarians. If you have contacts with other parents, that works too. Yeah, if you talk to somebody and they say, well, think about it, make sure you follow up with them. So, I mean, hosting is why I'm still here. We started years ago. Now, this is something kind of new, and it's part of our Rotary International mandated what's that thing called again?
Crisis management plan.
Crisis management plan. Yes, I lost that for a minute. Thanks, Kirk. We have to have a backup if for some reason the host family gets COVID and you have to move the kid, or something like that, or host dad comes home and the kid's dancing around the living room with the host mom's underwear on. You got to find a place to move that kid right away. Now, it can be the YEO or the YEC. That's only as a short-term thing. If you can have room in your plan to have somebody who's just there to be the backup, who can take a kid for 2 weeks or a month, that's a good thing to have. And in terms of the whole, I'm almost done talking. Yay! In terms of the whole district and our crisis management plan, Roseanne and I are it. We were almost actually a dormitory at the start of COVID. We had a new generations kid and our club's exchange student, and my daughter and wife came home from Toronto to get out of Plagueville. So I think that was the end of my talk. I think it's time for Kirk to talk again. I love the fact that Kirk picked my first year as outbound coordinator, the group pick for the start of this.
I didn't even realize that was your first year. And you
was in it. That was my first, yeah, well, it was the kid picture of just the kids.
Oh, gotcha.
25 of them.
Oh, the good old days. We'll get it back there. That's our goal, back to 30. 32 when I was in outbound, but 5 of us went home. So I mean, well, not us, I should say 5 of them went home. Anyway, all right.
Maybe we shouldn't bring that part up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Aiden, that's a little bit of a shame from our year, but hey,
but we did have 3 of our students have become presidents of Rotary clubs, so that's got to count for a win.
That's true. Yeah, we're pretty amazing. Okay, so I'm going to talk now specifically about the outbound program. That's going to be the majority of what we cover tonight because of the fact that we're right in, outbound recruitment season. I'm going to go pretty fast because it's a lot of details, and we are going to be sending the slides out after as well. So for some of these more list stuff, you're going to have that information to refer to later. And of course, part of the toolkit is going to have some of that information, but feel free to slow me down if I'm going through a part that doesn't make any sense or you need some clarity on, but otherwise I'll kind of move quickly so that we're not digging too much into the details where we don't need to. All right. Okay, so, oh, I've got my highlighter going all over. First things first, essentially the role of the YEO and the Youth Exchange Committee at your club level, kind of giving you a sense of what it is you're required to do or what we're looking for you to do. The first thing starts with recruiting outbound candidates. All right, that's the first thing we need you to do for the outbound program. Then once you have those candidates, just ensuring that their applications are correct and submitted on time. We're going to talk about a little bit about both of these, so hang tight. Next, involve those outbounds in your club events and invite them to meetings. Seems like a small thing, but one of the biggest complaints we hear is that, oh, my outbound came back from their exchange, we sent them on their greatest year of their life and we never heard from them. And one of the biggest reasons is because yes, you sponsored them, but they didn't really get involved with the club before they left. There was no anchor to say, hey, I want to go back and see Helen now that I'm back from my exchange, right? They hardly really knew you before they left. So we're really trying to encourage clubs to say, hey, invite them to meetings, invite them to your projects, make sure that they get involved before they go on exchange so that when they come back, you're a bunch of familiar faces instead of those people that sent me on exchange. So really try to get them involved before they leave in whatever way you can. Then of course, supplying the outbounds with club banners and or pins that they can use to trade while they're on exchange to hand out to their host clubs or other clubs that they might visit, as well as the pins are for trading with their blazer if you have pins for your club. And another big thing is having them present to the club upon their return. So when they come back, getting them to do a presentation. And really, to me, that's just the first step in a long kind of retention piece, right? So it's not just inviting them to come back and Alice comes and does her presentation. Then I say, well, it's been a slice. Have a good life. I wish you all the best. It's then inviting them back to the Christmas party and inviting them back to the summer barbecue and your next fundraiser and your next event, instead of kind of the way I jokingly say it is like, don't let them off the hook. Like you gave them the best year of their life. Cash in on that and say, like, we want you back. We want you to consider joining or joining a Rotaract club or just staying involved in some way, right? So it's really, you are become that anchor for them, that person that, even though they're done their exchange and they moved on, they still go back and keep touch with you and check in with you, all right? Okay, so a quick little discussion. We don't have a ton of time for this in order to get into a big discussion, but just a few quick ideas that maybe some more experienced YEOs could use or would like to share with some of the newer YEOs in terms of how do you recruit your outbounds? Where do you find them? Where do you go to get them? What strategies have worked for you in the past? So I'll turn it over to you folks if you'd like to just unmute yourself and just say, hey, I have a strategy or an idea. We would love to hear kind of right from what you folks are doing in order to recruit outbounds. And there's everyone going, that's why you're here, Kirk. You're supposed to tell us how to recruit them all. Yeah, Aaron, yeah.
I could.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sure. We'll start with it.
I was just going to say that I used to be invited to the high school to careers class and talk about my career, just like other people talked about theirs. But I always used half of my presentation time to talk about the Rotary programs that we have in the high school that they can take advantage of, and talk about the youth exchange program and when the recruiting type of program forms are ready and that sort of thing. But also, if you can't go on an exchange, embrace the kids who show up in your school and travel vicariously through them, but welcome them, and that seemed to be an easy way to introduce the program.
Awesome, thanks, Erin. That's great. That's great advice. Heather and Damon.
Our club has a history of going right to the elementary schools actually, and kind of planting the seed very early to grade 7 and 8 students. And we invite the rebounds to come and do a short presentation of their exchange as well.
And the inbound.
Amazing.
And sorry, yes, and the inbound student will often participate in that as well.
Amazing, thanks. You may have seen on the agenda, we're going to be bringing up the YEO and YEC Toolkit, and that's one of the strategies we have in there is like plant that seed early, because give them a bit more time to brew, think about it and let the idea kind of brew in their minds, so that by the time they're, that grade 10 age, they're already ready. They've already talked about it with their family and they're kind of ready to go. So yeah, thanks Heather. Al.
we go to and set up hallway displays in each of the high schools, and sometimes get invited to the classes when we're there, and we message using the regular announcements in the schools, and it's been pretty effective. Plus, we try and work with the interact groups.
Amazing, thanks, Al. And you guys have a great interact group in St. Thomas too, so that's perfect.
They belong to the other club, but they are great.
Awesome, thanks, Al. And Mark.
Thanks, Kirk. I think it's important to go in and introduce yourself to the guidance department head at your local high school. Explain the program to them, explain the goals of the program, what you're looking for in ideal candidates, etc. And then lean on them once a year and ask them to supply you with a list of students that fit the requirements that they think would be good candidates. It hasn't always been the case for me, but this particular year was just a boon. I reached out to our local guidance department at the local high school, and she completely floored me by giving me a list of 51 students that she thought would make excellent candidates. So again, it can be feast or famine. I don't always get a list that long, but
yeah, Ross is having a panic attack because we don't need 51 outbounds, but hey, we're not going to complain if you have a few more than expected.
You won't get 51 outbound.
No, that's great though. Thanks for sharing that, Mark. Heather and Damon.
Well, my dad, Rick, is also sitting here, and he reminded me that going to the open house on the first, the grade 9 orientation day, and speaking to students there. And I think I remember also the parent teacher interview nights was also a good time to set up a little booth and have somebody there to answer questions as well. Information session.
Awesome. Thanks, Heather. And thanks, Rick. I didn't realize Rick was there too. So.
Hey, Rick.
There you go.
See ya.
All right. Thank you. I think we maybe have time for one more strategy if somebody, yeah, Alice, go ahead.
I used to be a French teacher in high school, and I found that I talked up all kinds of different exchanges to my students right from grade 9 on. And I found that there was always students interested in learning about other cultures. So I really, you talk to guidance, but often just knowing from working in it, they've got all kinds of things hitting them. So they are important, but I also think if you hit your language teachers, they're very likely to help support it because they really truly believe in learning a new culture and a language.
Yeah, that's awesome, Alice. And actually, I used to go back to my old high school and do a presentation on my exchange. Feels a little weird 12 years later to still be doing it, and 15 years later, but it's a way I can plug the program. I talk less and less about my specific experience and more just about what exchange can offer them. And yeah, there's always that, like you said, a couple students that even though they may not apply that year or something, they're always interested anyway. So yeah, awesome. Thanks, Alice. Okay, so there are going to be a lot more strategies, including some of the ones that were brought up tonight in the toolkit that we're talking about that'll have a lot of resources, but thank you for sharing that. I think if I look kind of high level, it sounds like getting into those schools, getting in with the guidance counselors early, whether it's elementary or high school, getting into those schools seems to be a #1 method for getting in. So that's great, thank you. Okay, so I want to also let you know about a district-wide info session that we're hosting. We don't normally do district-wide recruitment, right? Normally, we just kind of let it go at the club level, and you folks do a wonderful job of recruiting at the club level. But we just thought with COVID, a lot of clubs were mentioning that they're a little bit struggling to get in with guidance counselors and get in contact with their school. So we thought, why not give this a try? And at a couple of central states-wide meetings, we heard from other district outbound coordinators who said, hey, we've been doing this in our district and it's been really successful. So we thought the worst we can do is try it, see where it goes. So that's happening next Thursday, August 19th at 7. It's going to be on Zoom. And it's going to be just a high level thing. We're not getting really into the weeds about the process per se, but we're just giving them a high level overview of what the process is, what the experience is like. And then if they're interested, they can fill out our preliminary application, and then they get sort of filtered or sent to you folks at the club level, depending on where they live. And if they've already identified that they've spoken with a club already about youth exchange. So if that's on the District 6330 Youth Exchange Facebook page. If you'd be able to share that, we would appreciate it. You know, the more people that can get out to, the better. You know, if you can send it to guidance counselors and stuff, that's great. I know the kids aren't in class right now, but they might have a couple of people off the top of their heads that they are familiar with. And also just reaching out to individuals. One thing we learned with the 50th anniversary of the Youth Exchange program was that sending blanket emails only goes so far. You eventually have to reach out and say, Helen, I want you to go. And Helen's not going to say no when you reach out to her specifically. So that was really successful. So same thing here. If you have specific family or friends that you think might be interested or have a niece, a nephew, a grandson, a child, or anything interested, please forward it to them because that would be awesome. Sue is saying, will this be the only session? Will this be the only session for parents and students? At the moment, it's the only one we've got organized, Sue. I think before we decide on anything for September, we are going to wait and see how well received this is. But I don't think there's any problem with planning something for September if this goes well. So yeah, certainly something that we can look into and well worth it if we get a good response. So yeah. All right. Did someone else have a question? Thought I heard.
Yeah, Kurt,
yeah, Alex, go ahead.
Sorry, it's Alex here. I think somebody asked about having another session. Just if we could record this one, even that would be great, right? Because then people that didn't attend, you could shoot out a replay.
Yeah, that's a great example. And it's going to be on Zoom anyway. So yeah, we will be able to easily record it. So yeah, thanks for that suggestion. Cool. All right. So I can include the link to this in the email, like the follow-up email following this session. But if you've already seen it on Facebook and you're able to share, we'd really appreciate that. That'd be great. Okay. So one thing you may have noticed over the past couple of years is that we've been changing the Rotary Youth Exchange program in terms of how we brand it, how we advertise it. And some districts have found a lot of success with it, some not so much, but you know, it's something worth trying as well, in that they've been branding it as a scholarship. Because it doesn't do well in terms of rankings when you just Google study abroad or study exchanges. And yet scholarships is something that a lot more people are a lot more students are going and searching for when it comes to like Google searches and things like that. So in terms of digital marketing, scholarships gets a lot more hits than your standard exchange or study abroad. So there's been an effort to rebrand this program as a scholarship program. And the reasoning behind that is that when you are providing free tuition, free room and board, and a monthly stipend, that very much is a scholarship. So it does fall under that category. And what it does is it provides you with more publicity opportunities and hopefully more opportunities to be seen, right? Which then helps us attract more outbounds, grows our program. So we have some marketing collateral for that. Well, this is an example of one that we've created. And we will share the link with you so that if you want to use that in your community, if you think this branding kind of angle would be more successful, then you're certainly welcome to use that. I know for some of you, you have, tried and tested methods and it's very well known in the community. So, don't fix it if it's not broken. But for those of you that might be trying a shift in terms of how you're branding and what you're trying to get in terms of outbounds, this could be something to try. Again, a lot more people are searching for terms like scholarships than necessarily youth exchange or study abroad opportunities. So that's really where that angle comes from. Okay. Again, stop me if there's any questions. I am going to keep going through because I don't want to take forever. I know it's everybody's got exciting Tuesday night plans after this, so I want to let you get to those.
Excuse me, Kirk. It's Sue.
Yeah, Sue.
I've seen that poster before, but I wasn't able to edit or modify. So what format are you sending it out in?
Oh, that's
really
a great question. I will take a look at it, and because this bottom part should be a fillable form, but right. let me double check that when we send it out.
Yeah, I just wanted to change the name of the club, but
yeah, absolutely.
And then of course the information bots.
Yeah, perfect.
So it is okay. Thank you.
Perfect.
Kirk,
okay. Yes,
Kirk, it's Peter. I'm a little concerned about trying to brand it as scholarship. I know we've had problems in sort of to what extent students actually gain credits and whatnot when they come over here. So I think we got to be a little bit careful in how we blend the concept of scholarship in to what actually happens.
Yeah, and it's certainly a concept that, if your club for whatever reason maybe isn't comfortable with that, or if your club has had success branding it other ways, just as a standard exchange or study abroad, you can keep doing that. That's no problem. It's really just being offered as an opportunity for clubs that might be struggling to get the exchange word out there as a way of rebranding. And I mean, we have certainly had problems with credits in the past for some students, but normally that gets somewhat worked out to an extent. So I think we feel pretty comfortable, you know, even with that part aside, that scholarship that is not misleading overall. But certainly something that, again, if your club's uncomfortable with it, you don't have to use this branding. You're welcome to use the traditional branding for sure. Okay. All right, thanks, Peter. Okay, then moving along. So first step is, of course, selecting your outbound. So a couple things to keep in mind. They are going to be an ambassador of your club and their community that they represent. So keep that in mind when you are picking someone. Sometimes we pick people that have maybe a really great personality, but maybe wouldn't really be the best ambassador. So we do want to keep that in mind. Generally speaking, they need to be between 15 and a half and 18 and a half years old as of August 1st, 2022. All right. Older students are not impossible to place, but they are difficult to place. So if you're going to send someone to the district level that's over 18 and a half, or will be when they'd be on exchange, we'd have to really feel like they're a super strong candidate in order for that to go through. But generally speaking, aim for them being between 15 and a half and 18 and a half on August 1st of the year that they would be abroad. The academic requirements, generally speaking, they have to be in the top half of their class, all right? And in Ontario, as Ross said, they cannot have graduated in order to be a primary candidate. So if they've graduated, they become automatically an alternate candidate, meaning that they don't get a guaranteed spot, okay? And we talked about that part there. In terms of medical requirements, at this point, the biggest one is that they have to be willing to get or have all required vaccinations. And as you can imagine, that does include COVID at this point, unless they're exempted for a medical reason. Okay, so that's really the only medical requirement. We are seeing lots of students with mental health issues and whatnot, and a lot of people think that that's an automatic no. That is not an automatic no. We do that case by case, just like we would do any sort of physical health issues. So don't, just because someone's been diagnosed with depression or something, they may not be the best candidate for other reasons, but we're not necessarily going to say no because of that. All right. Okay. All right. On to just a couple things to think about in terms of that candidate. So in terms of personality and character, really ask yourself the following questions. You know, do they have a sense of adventure? Are they willing to learn a new language and culture? You know, one thing I find that's interesting is as we're getting into more of a, I guess, technological age, you get a lot of people that are curious, but on their phone or inside their four walls of their home or their bedroom. They're not necessarily ones to be out in the community. So it's tough because you see someone that wants to learn about the world, but they're also afraid to leave their room. So that can make it a little bit difficult to go, is this a good candidate or not? You know, and that can be a challenge. So you want to think about that. You know, are they adventurous or do they just want to know more information? There's kind of a difference there. Do you think they'd be willing to learn a new language and culture? Are they curious about the world? Are they involved in service activities, you know, at their school or in their community? We want to see generally students who are involved. And are they grateful for the opportunities that they currently have? That sounds like a strange question, but we are looking for students that are going to, I don't want to say be easy for us, but make it a good experience for everybody, not a bad one. Because as we know, a bad inbound or a bad outbound, you know, as unfair as it might seem, it does a lot of damage to the club in terms of continuing the program. You have one bad inbound and suddenly the entire club doesn't want to host anymore. And that becomes really challenging to try to keep the program going. And the same thing with an outbound. If an outbound gets sent back, it makes the club very hesitant to want to send an outbound the following year. Okay, so keep that in mind. Are they grateful for the opportunities? Are they going to work with us? Are they cooperative in that sense? In terms of their motivation, this is a big one. Whose idea is it? Is it mom and dad saying this would be a good idea for you? Or is this them saying, I really would like this opportunity? Now, it's not the end of the world if mom and dad are also wanting this. Many of you might remember Ruben, who came here and lived in CSRYE, and one of the first things he said is, I'm only here because my mom and dad said I learn English. And then in May, when he was doing the presentation to the high school, he said to everybody, you think you are going just to learn a language, but that's crazy. It's the best thing in your life. You learn the culture, you love the people, it's great. Don't go to learn a language, that's stupid. And there I was crying tears because my host brother had grown up right in front of my eyes. And I'm like, who the hell are you? You're not the kid that came here 8 months ago. So, I mean, that can change, but generally speaking, if it really is just the parents pushing it, as you can imagine, that does result in some pretty negative experiences, okay? They're hoping to use Rotary as a travel agency, right? They want to be going to a specific country, going to see a specific person or a specific city. That's not what we're in the business of doing. and what are they hoping to get out of going on exchange overall? This is where we ask them, are you willing to go to a different country and learn a different language? Or is Donna wanting to go to France to learn French? Right? That's the difference, because as we know, they might not get their first choice or their second or their third or their fifth. So we want to know that they're just excited for this opportunity, whatever it might look like. All right. And then in terms of financial capacity, so the cost is a single fee. We are moving to a single fee, which we will talk about in a bit. That will be $7,000. Okay. So with that, are they aware and do they understand the cost of the exchange, that it will cost minimum $7,000, because there are a couple of things that doesn't include. All right. Will they need financial assistance? And if so, do they have ways to figure that out? Have they thought about that? Have they asked family members, how are they going to get that financial assistance? There are a couple of scholarships available. When we say available, it doesn't mean they automatically get them. They do have to apply, and they are based on financial need, but can certainly help out. So the Shoemaker Scholarship, which is Central States wide, they can get up to $2,000 US per student. And for our local District 6330 RYE 50 scholarship, they can actually potentially get up to $5,000 US, but it's going to be more likely to be around $1,000 per student. Okay, so there is some monetary help there, but we want to know that they're not going to only be going because of that scholarship, hopefully. All right. Any questions on that so far? Okay, cool. Next. So ultimately you are asking yourself, would you want this student living in your home? Would you want to put up with them for 3 months? Would you think it's a delight, or would you be pulling your hair out? If it's the latter, maybe we don't want to be sending them to a family across the world. All right. Just like I mentioned in terms of being an ambassador, we've had districts that we have a great relationship with, and we send a student that we think is a good candidate and it doesn't work out. And now that whole district doesn't want to do exchange with us anymore. So I don't want to say one bad apple spoils the bunch, but that unfortunately, it is kind of what happens, right? So we just want to think about that. Just like Tom Hanks is deep in thought about that exact question right now. Okay. So next part, once you've selected your candidates, you know who it is you want to move forward, it's the application process. And there's 4 steps to that process. The first is the preliminary application. The next is they do a club interview. The next is the Central States application. And the 4th is they attend district interviews. All right. So let's take a look at those steps in a little more detail. First one is the preliminary application. That is a Google form. That is not a PDF or a Word file. That's not a physical form that they fill out. Okay, it's a Google form, so they fill it out online. This is the first part of it. Okay, that is available on the Rotary Youth Exchange page of the District 6330 website. If you have a QR scanner on your phone, you can scan that to take a look at that page if you'd like. I do try to keep that up to date, but I do need to actually currently update it. So that's the first step. If they're interested, okay, and there's 2 ways that they could get this. So Sue, little 16-year-old Sue wants to go on exchange. So she goes and she Googles, exchange Mitchell, and this website comes up. She could go ahead and fill out this application, not having talked to any Rotarian or Rotary Club at that point. So what will happen in that case is I get the application and I will send it to the closest club to her. They have to fill in their address. So she would put, that she's in Mitchell. I would Google that just to make sure it makes sense on the map. And then I go, okay, Mitchell's your closest club that's doing exchange, and I'd say, Alice, we've got this awesome student from closest to your club that wants to go on exchange. Could you please follow up with them and connect and give them a club level interview? Okay. The other way is that Aiden already knows Erin and has known her for years and is now ready that she wants to go on exchange. So Erin says, okay, it's time to go. So first step you do is you fill out the application. So she then directs Aiden to this website. Aiden fills it out, and I'll know that Aiden's already spoken to Erin because on the application it says, have you already connected with a Rotary Club? Yes or no? If so, who have you connected with, like which club and which person? So she's going to write Erin, and I'm going to go, oh, perfect, it's Erin. And I know automatically to forward that to Erin's club. Erin knows, oh, there's Aiden's application. That's exactly what Mark just held an info night for the St. Mary's candidates. That's exactly what he did. They sent the forms in, they put that they had spoken with the St. Mary's Club, specifically Mark Oliver. So the second I got that, I knew to forward it right to Mark, and he was able to see their applications and follow up with them. All right. So those are the 2 ways. They could come out of the blue, or they've come because you've directed them to that website. But either way, they fill out that preliminary application. Okay.
You forwarded all 50 applications?
I've only gotten 3 so far. Thank God. Yeah, 3 so far. And the preliminary application deadline is September 30th. Realistically, if we're getting preliminary applications after the 30th of September, it is going to be very challenging for that student to get through the club level interview plus the Central States application process in time for district interviews. So really encouraging everybody to get out there and start recruiting so that this step is done by September 30th. Al, yes.
Yeah, we've been using our own preliminary application at the specific to our club.
Yeah.
Is that an issue or?
No, that's not an issue. If you want to share with me, I would love to see it because I might end up tweaking ours if I look at yours and go, oh, that's a really great question they're asking. I'm happy to change ours. Really what we're trying to do there, Al, is save you work of having to maintain your own forms. So that's why it exists. But if you're happy with your own and it works for you, then that's great. That's no problem.
I'll definitely share it with you and you can let me know.
Sure. Yeah. And again, take a look at ours. And if you're like, oh, well, if you tweaked one question, I would just use that one. Again, whatever can save you some work and stuff, we're happy to do that.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's the preliminary application. That's the first step in the application process. Next, we have the club level interview. So that's where your club, your youth exchange committee is going to interview the candidate. So that's probably going to be the YEO, the YEC, and any interested club members. Could just be people that have had experience with the program. Could be some people that are brand new to the club and you just want to get them into youth exchange. Whatever it might be, you're going to pick a small number of people to interview the student. All right, we will be sending you sample interview questions so that you have those. Some of you might, again, have your own club level stuff that you use. That's fine. You are welcome to use that stuff. There's no problem with that. But we like to provide you with some resources as well, so you're not having to recreate the wheel. Then if you have any doubts or concerns at that point, if you've talked to them and you're like, I think they're okay, but I'm not sure, or they identified this and it kind of gave us a red flag, reach out to me. We can always talk through that and figure out, yeah, maybe that is a pretty big red flag. We should avoid that, or nope, that's not a really big issue. We can work through that. I might even have to talk to Ross or Dawn or Roseanne as our district counselor and get some more advice, but we can always work through that if you're having trouble making a decision. And then, yes, so Mark, yeah, go ahead. Oh, you're muted, Mark.
Sorry.
No problem.
YEOs, when you're arranging your local interviews, don't hesitate to reach out to past host families. Asking past host moms to serve on the interview panel brings just another perspective as well. If you have access to any of your rebound students from the past too, quite often they're more than happy to serve on your interview panel, again, giving it more than just a Rotarian perspective.
That is amazing advice. Yeah, really good point. And it's a nice way to kind of keep your host families involved, right? If maybe it's been a couple of years since they've hosted and you're trying to pull them back in, inviting them to be on an interview team could be one way to do that. Yeah, thanks, Mark. Okay. Once you're done interviewing your applicants and you've decided which ones you want to move forward with, I mean, most clubs are going to probably have one applicant, but you may have more. Just rank them if there is more than one. Otherwise, just send them to me and let me know we've interviewed Heather, she's done her preliminary application, and we'd like to move forward with her as our candidate. Okay, let me know that because that's what triggers me to then send out the Central States application to that student. Okay, so when you're happy with your candidate, you let me know and we will move forward and I can get them started on the Central States application. Okay, so speaking of that, everybody's favorite part of the process is the Central States application. So there's 3 things. Once you let me know, hey, we want to send Helen. She's our candidate. She's wonderful. She's going to be great. So I say, okay, perfect. There's 3 things I'm going to send Helen. I'm going to send a link from within YEA, and it's going to be to the online portion of the Central States application, right? So there's that part. Then I'm going to send her an email with two documents, okay? It's going to be the Central States supplemental forms, and as well as a couple of external links she'll get. And then also instructions for completing the application. I put together an instruction package to help these kids do it as well as they can so that there's as few errors as possible. And so I will be sending those things. So they will get a link to the application from YEA. It comes right from YEA, the central supplemental forms and the instructions completing the application. You will be copied on the supplemental forms and the instructions. That's why those 2 are starred. I will copy the club YEO so you will know that they've been sent those documents and can start working on them. Okay. Question there from Marika, when is the earliest that the application is available? It's available now. So if you have people ready to go, when I get that email from you saying, we want to go ahead with Rhonda, I can send it to you in the next 24 hours, no problem. And did someone else have a question? Okay, perfect. So yeah, we are good to go. Central States has been on the ball and we are ready to start sending that out whenever you folks are ready. Okay, so the personal application, again, I don't want to go too much in depth, but essentially the online application has 10 parts that the student is required to fill out, okay? So they fill in their personal information, parent guardian information, all of those. They do a letter. Their parents also do a letter, okay? They provide 4 photos on different aspects of their life, and it explains this in the application as well as in the instructions, and some Rotary Club level information. Okay, so those are the 10 areas that they're required to fill out. I wouldn't say this is overly challenging, this part. It's all done online. They cannot do any of this by hand. This is all done online. They upload the pictures into and everything. None of this part of the application is done by hand. And you can see when they've completed that, which is great. All right. Next step is the little
challenging part of that really is the letter.
Yes. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about reading over the letter, but yeah, that is the challenging part. They, these are 16, 17-year-olds, right? So their grammar is not always great. The way they word stuff isn't always ideal. And we want to make sure that they're putting their best foot forward. So we recommend that you review their letter. We also review their letter to make sure it doesn't get past us to the Central States level. And they have people going, who is letting this kid go on exchange? We know these kids have great intentions, but they're just not always the best communicators at first. So we don't want that to be what holds them back. All right. And then the supplemental forms are the part that causes a little bit more grief. These are the parts that often get printed out and the signing in blue ink and all of that fun stuff. That's this part. So there's a couple different sections. There's section C is your medical forms. D is your dental forms. Okay. Section E is your sponsoring Rotary Club and district endorsement. The next section is your rules, attestations, permissions, releases, and consents. Lots of fun legalese there. And then there's 2 other pieces. So the first one is our District 6330 financial commitment form. And basically what that is for is because we are moving to a single fee for the first time, it's a considerable amount they're paying to us compared to what they used to do, where they would just pay us a smaller fee and then they would buy their flights separately and do all that stuff. So many districts suggested, if you're going to do a single fee, have this commitment form to show that they are willing to commit to that fee, and it outlines the fee schedule and everything like that. And I think I have another slide on that anyway, but and the host family referral form, which I will also talk a little bit more about. Yeah, Ross, go ahead.
Just the anybody who's done this before will notice that the section G rules and stuff has been significantly expanded, and there are more signatures required. Or it's the same people signing, you just need to sign in more places than they used to.
And in the instruction section that I send out, I do try to be really specific, like, have they done this? Have they done this? So those students can print that guide out and just check by check. Did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? We try to make it really black and white for them so that they're not, messing up little things like that. Because the last thing we want is that they have to go, back to their doctor or back to the dentist and have to reprint all the forms and that kind of stuff. So we do try to, like Ross said, if it says 3 signatures, we highlight in the document package, hey, make sure that when you leave your doctor's office, you have 3 signatures. Otherwise, you don't have enough signatures. We try to make that really explicit, because we know it can be a frustrating process for them. And it's also frustrating for us to see an application that these kids have worked so hard on and it's missing 1 signature. So, all right. So the financial commitment form, as we mentioned, it's basically that the family is committed to paying the full amount and that it'll be in 2 installments. So the way this is going to work is the first installment will be for $2,500 and that'll be due December 31st. And the second installment will be for $4,500 and that'll be due April 30th. And Ross, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the document in front of me, but there is like a refund schedule depending on when they exit the program, if they exit the program. Is that not correct?
That is correct, yes. And that will be on this form.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, Sue, go ahead.
I'm just curious, but I'm assuming that we have itemized what's covered, like what that $7,000 is covering and what it doesn't.
You got it. Yeah. So on the form, it outlines exactly what is included and not, because the last thing we want is for a kid to get to Brazil and go, yeah, my trip is paid for. Like I get to go to the Northeast tour and it's going to be great. And the poor kid goes, wait a minute. So yeah, that's Harry has done a really good job making it, I would say, very clear as to what exactly is covered under that and what isn't. Yeah. And Donna is asking, does it cover insurance? It does cover their Central States insurance. If I remember correctly, and Ross, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't cover if they're required to get insurance in their host country. No, it is required for that too. It's covered?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, okay, good, good.
Yes, absolutely covers insurance and the flight. The big thing it doesn't cover is in-country trips, as Kirk mentioned.
Oh, the language.
And little things like language camps. Yes, if there's a language camp, that's not covered. And the cost of getting a visa, like if you have to go to Toronto and go to the consulate, that kind of thing, that's not covered. And if the doctor charges you $1 million to fill out the form, that's not covered.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that question, Donna. Okay, so the application links that they get, in addition to the online form, in addition to the supplemental forms, that we do send them a couple of links. Well, not them, but there's a couple of links associated as well. The first one is for a school reference. So they give us the person from their school that they want to provide a reference, and from within YEO, that goes directly to that person since it's confidential. So the student never sees that. Okay, so that's a link that is sent to their teacher, but we put in the instructions, let your teacher know to look out for the link, ask your teacher to look in their spam if they say they haven't gotten it, so that the student is on top of it. That's the last thing we want really to hold up anybody's application. And then the student will get a separate link for their country selection, which we'll talk specifically about in a moment. And then the other couple things they required, government issued birth certificate, all right, official academic transcripts for the past 2 years from their high school, and they are required to have a passport. They're not required to have a passport at the time of district interviews, and they're actually not even required to have it for December 1st when we send the applications to Central States, but they will be required to have it certainly before they go, probably I think in the February-March timeline. So we generally recommend, like if they don't have one, right when they start applying for the program, even though they don't need it right away, move on that, because we don't know how long that's going to take because of COVID and offices opening back up. So we recommend, that's not something to wait for. Go ahead and get it. Yeah, Don, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to mention about the passport. So even though we don't require it by December 1st, it is a good idea that for a student, if they do not have one, to apply for one and get one.
Yeah.
Because once we send our applications to Central States, pretty well, all of the countries that we're sending to are asking for a copy of the passport.
Yeah. And we should mention as well, for passports, they're looking for a passport that is valid for at least 6 months after the student's return. So if their passport is 3 months away from expiring, they are going to need to get a new one. If it's going to be good 2 months after they get home, we would still generally say they need to get one that's going to be valid longer than that. Most of them have their 10-year ones, or a lot of them have 10-year ones, and that's fine. But for those that might not, they might need to look at that. Right. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so a couple specifics here. First is the country selection. They're ranking their 12 preferred countries from 1 to 12. Okay. They are required to meet the age, medical, and dietary restrictions. Based on the email that I received from the Central States Outbound Coordinator, the only options they will actually see is based on their age. So if they're not of age to go to that country, so if Brian is too old to go to Russia, Russia won't even show up as an option for him. Only the ones that he can actually go to based on age will show up for him, all right? And there's also medical and dietary restrictions. Those don't block anything out, but keep in mind, if you want to go to the Faroe Islands, but you're a strict vegetarian, it's an island of rocks. There's not a lot of vegetation. So they get all their food brought in. And if you are asking a family to host them and say, yeah, but they only want vegetables, most people eat meat there. Vegetarianism isn't really a thing on the Faroe Islands because it's too impractical. So there are considerations like that we want you to be aware of. Not always a deal breaker, but something that they should be keeping in mind about, if they're LGBT, don't put Russia as your number one. We don't want to send you there, and they probably don't want to go there. Things like that. So there are considerations like that they need to keep in mind. And we do see their country selection. So if there's things that they're not aware of, we are kind of on the lookout for that as well, right? So if they pick Russia and they're not even clued into what's going on in Russia, we're not going to say, oh, well, no one caught it, too bad for you. We're definitely going to have an eye out for those sorts of things as well. But we want them to be thinking about that too. And the last part is that they can refuse countries. They are actually allowed to say, no, I won't go to Hungary. However, this isn't meant to be the way they end up getting, well, my cousin said France was a great country and I've wanted to go since I was 7, so I'm going to France. So I'll just refuse every country but France. It really should be for valid reasons. And that's a great example. I'm LGBT. I really don't want to end up in Russia. I'm going to refuse Russia on my list. That would be a great example of a reason you might refuse a country. But basically saying, well, my mom doesn't think Hungary is a nice country, that is not a reason to refuse a country. Okay, so you really want to work with the students about expectations. And we do the same, trying to say, wherever we send you, we're going to make sure it's safe for you. We're going to make sure you can hopefully have a good time. So we're not going to refuse countries just because, well, I've heard the trees aren't very pretty in Japan in summer. So yeah, not on my list anymore.
But if mom and dad are going to go, no, you absolutely can't go to Colombia, then it wouldn't hurt to refuse it.
Yeah. Parents are worse than the kids. All right. Okay. Any questions about that country selection? That's done online as well. That's not something that they print out. Okay, cool. All right. A couple tips about the application overall. Complete everything or have them complete everything as correctly as possible. Really follow the instructions. And I do include a lot of information about that. But one small thing is don't write things like same. If an answer is the same as a different one, or see above, they don't put up with that at all. Even if you have to write it in 7 times, you'll write it in 7 times. So this is where some students, I don't want to say they get lazy, but they're all for the shortcuts. And this is where shortcuts are not going to do them any favors. They got to go the long way around and do it properly. That's really important because we will not bring an application to Central States if we don't feel it's prepared. And we'll do as much back and forth as we need to do. And one thing that we do keep in mind when we're evaluating the candidates at district interviews is how much back and forth there's been. I have had students in my first year where, I wrote to Rhonda and I said, Rhonda, you need to fix this. And when she sent it back, it was fixed. And I've had other students where I've said, Sue, I need you to fix this, this, and this. And she sent back with one of them fixed, the other was still wrong, and the other was changed to something else wrong. And I'm kind of going, so let's talk about attention to detail. Let's talk about your ability to follow instructions. We do think about that. And then it's something we might pay attention to as an outbound at the conferences. So, the more time we have to struggle with them to get their application complete, it does kind of give us a red flag sometimes. So they really got to follow the application instructions properly. So you lovely YEOs are responsible for reviewing and editing the students' letters, all right? Also, any other parts of the paper application, please sit down with them and do that. It's a great way to just have another person double checking. I double check, and of course, I think I'm pretty good with attention to detail. I make my partner check as well, but we're not amazing, we miss stuff. So the more eyes catching this stuff, any errors or something, the better chance we're not going to get it back from Central State saying, you forgot this or you missed that. And it just expedites the process for them, okay? Generally start as early as possible and work as quickly as possible between getting dentist appointments and medical appointments and stuff, especially now during COVID. We don't know how long this is going to take. We don't know what this is going to look like. So we really recommend moving as fast as you can, meaning that, let the students start as early as they can. So again, if you have a candidate right now, you're ready to go, I'm happy to send you the application tomorrow, okay? And still we are maintaining all signatures in blue ink. So anywhere anyone signs, no matter who it is, tell that student to buy a pack of blue pens and keep one on them at all times, because every signature does need to be in blue ink, okay? All right. So moving right along. Last thing you want to do with them, this isn't really part of the application, but it is part of the process, is reviewing the conference dates. All of the conferences are mandatory. It doesn't matter if you have a big tournament or a prom or anything like that. They are required to attend all of the conferences, all right? One of the dates may still change, but everything else is pretty much set in stone. So district interviews are going to be either the 6th or the 13th. The 6th is going to be in Canada and the 13th is going to be in the US. Because we're doing that multi-district collaboration, as you can imagine, there's a fair number of space now in the US, on the US side. So we'll be doing 2. Preferably the Canadian students will interview in Canada and the American ones will interview in the US, but there may be some flexibility there, but they will have to attend 1 interview conference, okay? Next, the First Grade Expectations Conference is that first weekend in March. The Great Expectations 2 conference is May 27th, 28th. That one may be subject to change. We will let you know as soon as we can once it's solidified. And the summer conference, because there's no Grand Rapids this year, there won't be any inbounds and there won't be any rebounds. So they've voted not to have Grand Rapids, but we are sort of recreating it with these other 2 districts that we're partnering with. So we are still opting to have a third conference so that we can continue training and reinforcing these concepts. And that's going to be July 15th to 17th. So that's the weekend that Grand Rapids would have been if it were happening. So they are required to attend all of those. Okay. And in terms of parent participation, if I remember correctly, it's usually the Sunday of both conferences that they would be required to attend. Ross, am I wrong on that? Or is it not?
It's the Sunday of the May conference. The parents do not attend the March conference at all.
Right. Okay. And the July one, they would
what happens for the Grand Rapids replacement conference.
Yeah, still
And
figuring.
we're kind of hoping that we're going to get Jennifer Jones to speak to the conference, at least virtually.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a couple of questions. Sue.
Just quickly, so the cost to the students to attend these are included in their tuition, or is this cost over and above that?
Completely included. Their room and board for the conferences, their food, everything is included. Yep, you got it. And any like training materials. If we do a handbook or a binder or anything, that's all included as well. Yep. Heather and Damon.
I had the same question about costs, so thank you, Sue, for asking that. But I was also wondering, and if I'm jumping ahead and you're still going to say it, I can wait. But I was just wondering about students who were successful in the previous application process, who were ready to go.
Yeah.
Are you getting to that?
No, I'm not, but someone else just sent me a private message about it. So there you go. Yeah, great minds think alike.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't have a set process in place for that because, as you can imagine, it's a one-off situation. Just reach out to us and say, hey, Joe Schmo that was ready to go last year wants to apply again. That's interesting because I did reach out to everybody and got a whole bunch of no's. I, in fact, I had one person that was interested or told me they were interested in moving forward again. So I'm really excited that now there's 2 apparently re-interested. That's awesome. Yeah, just contact me separately and just say, hey, Joe has mentioned that he wants to go out. What are we going to do? They will have to redo the application. I mean, they're 2 years older than they were before, and there's not much we can really change about that. However, they already know the process. So that's going to help them a lot. And B, we might look into whether the interview looks a little bit different. Really interview-wise, we're just making sure, are their motivations still the same? Right? Has anything changed? Are they still wanting to go for the same reasons or at least the right reasons? Really, that's what we'd be looking for. So can't necessarily say they'd have an expedited process or like a shortcut process, unfortunately, but at least they do know the process. And we already know that once we already said yes, so kind of what would stop us from saying yes again.
Okay, great. And then also with that, how does, I know you said ages had to be 15 and a half to 18 and a half, but you said they could be older, so that might change. I guess could they be older than that is my first question.
Yeah, I'll let Ross take that one.
Yeah. So that's the first thing to do is send us their birth date, along with, yeah, I want to do this again, and so we can double check. We have been given the dates. I don't have them off the top of my head. If they fall within the standard date parameters, then everything's cool. If they are a little bit too old, then we start having to contact country correspondents and asking for favors. Some have indicated that may be possible. The biggest problem is we can't reciprocate the favor necessarily because of being part of Central States. In the US, there's absolutely no wiggle room. The J1 visa that you must have to come on exchange to the United States is cut off at 18, period. So it's, if we asked Dawn Moore, hey, can we send Aiden to Japan, she's 4 months over the age limit, Japan might turn around and go, yeah, sure, if you take Shion, because he's also 4 months over. They'd have to come to Canada. They can't go to the US. So it becomes a process of negotiation if they're over the age limit, is what I'm trying to, is the simple way of saying that, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
It's not a definite no, but it's a longish process of direct negotiation with a country and district that will be willing to take them.
Yeah, it's case by case.
But that's super exciting that there's 2 at least that want to come back, because they had all told me about a year ago, like, yeah, we're good now, thanks anyway. And so that's cool. That's exciting. And there's another question, Ross, maybe you want to field this one. Any expectation for students being double vaccinated?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I would say that the chances are very much that they will be expected. Well, yes is the answer. And I would suggest being careful. If chances, at this point, we haven't done a lot of vaccinating for young people. So as you go forward in this, advise that they make sure that they are double vaccinated with the same product. Like if they do like either Pfizer or Moderna, don't do a mix and match. At the moment, Europe is saying that doesn't count. So yes, we expect vaccination. We're Rotary, polio plus, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be vaccinated, go find another program. And if you can catch them in time to make sure that they stick with the same product, that would be a good thing. Just to head off a possible objection from somewhere.
Thanks, Ross. Okay.
I was going to say too, a quick note on that. I know having both my kids vaccinated just the other day, they're 12 to 17. I'm pretty sure in Ontario is only being the only one that's allowed is Pfizer. Yeah. I could be wrong in saying that, but at least specifically in our health region, though, it's Pfizer for both, and there's no swapping on the children doses. So
that's correct.
You should be good there.
Okay, good. I know adults can mix and match.
Yeah, like adults can, but the kids couldn't.
Yeah, and the mix and match at the moment doesn't let you into the EU.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Thank you, Wade and Don, Ross. Okay, so the next step of the application is just some deadlines to throw at you. Okay. The first one is that we are going to have, 2 years ago, we did do some application help sessions where they were just kind of drop in. So any outbound applicants that were having questions about that application, any questions, big or small, they were able to just log in and say, hey, here's my question. What do I do? It was a great chance for us to get some FaceTime with the students before interviews. And some of the people, it was really great to hear from them. So we are doing that again, currently scheduled for September 27th and October 13th. So an info session or a troubleshooting session for kind of the earlier ones, and then one a little bit later for those that maybe got started on their application a bit later. All right, so it'll be a Zoom link, and any outbound applicants, and of course YEOs and YECs that log in and have any questions, you can just ask those and then go on your way. All right.
And parents.
And parents as well, yes. Okay. The deadline for the application to the district is October 25th. Okay, that's the online application, the one that's got the 10 sections. That is due October 25th, so a couple of weeks before the district interviews, and that's so that we have time to review it before district interviews and catch any really big red flags. And the supplemental forms due date is November 1st. Now, it does happen that they come to the interview conference and they've got their medical appointment scheduled and it's for 3 days after the interview conference. We are willing to be flexible on those sorts of things, but we do, as much as possible, hope that they come and expect that they come with a completed application. Because one of the nice things about the interview conference is I don't sit on an interview team. Instead, I meet with each one of the outbounds and go over their application with them. And I can tell you, there's no faster way to go through what to fix or change or do on an application than in person. I can just sit there and say, get that signature fixed, make sure that's updated, make sure that's changed. So if they have everything there, it makes that a lot easier. If they don't have everything there, if they say, oh yeah, my dentist appointment is in a week and my doctor's appointment is in 2 weeks, that becomes very challenging. And we have to have the application to Central States by December 1st. So if their appointments aren't till mid-November, it makes it really challenging to make sure it gets done on time. And Central States has a rule where if one application from the district is late, they don't send any applications from that district. They wait for every application from that district before they submit that district's application. So, you know, we don't want one student to hold back the rest of the students. It's not really fair to them. So, okay. All right. Last part is the host family referral section. So this is not an official part of the application. This actually comes back to me. So it's a list of 3 potential host families that we ask the Outbounds to provide. There's no commitment from families if they put down their friends or neighbors or anything. You know, we're not going to say you've been volunteered to host. It's simply that you might be a family that's interested in hosting an exchange student at some point. So what I do is I then send that list back to you as the local, as the YEO, and you will follow up with that family. So you can say, hey, you know, little Jimmy has put your family's name down. You know, he says that your aunt and uncle or whatever it might be, you know, let me tell you a little bit about the program and see if maybe that is something you'd actually be interested in doing and hosting with. So again, no obligation to the family. The student doesn't have to worry that we're going to hound that family or anything, but we are going to reach out and say, hey, you know, we'd love it if you'd consider hosting, and maybe we can let you know a little bit more about the program. It's also a great way to recruit Rotarians down the road, right? So you never know. All right. And if a student is really stressing, you know, they're doing a great job and they go, I can only think of 2 people. This is not the end of the world. Do not lose sleep on this, either you or them. If they have 2 families and that's great, that's awesome. Or even 1 family, if that's the thing that's holding them back, you know, we don't want that to be what holds them back from submitting an application. All right. We just ask that they take some time to think about family and friends in the community that could be potential host families. All right. Okay, and then district interviews. So as I mentioned, those are happening on either the 6th or the 13th. One will be in Canada and the following week will be in the US. All right, generally speaking, the students are interviewed by a panel of 3 Rotarians and 1 Rotex or Rebound. You will never interview your own applicant. So, you know, Alice will never interview the Goderich Outbound. It would be somebody else doing that, okay? But generally 3 Rotarians that have some involvement in the program, but not always, and a Rotex or Rebound as well. Okay, and during that time, as I mentioned, all of our students will meet with me, go over the application so that we can answer any questions that they might have and kind of help them get sorted and make sure that they and their parents get all their questions answered. So a little bit more information about interviews, but that's kind of the basics of what they're there to do. So they do an interview, and after that, we decide whether or not they're going to move forward in the process. Historically, for those of you that might be new, we don't have a big history of turning students down. There has to be a pretty big red flag that the interview team brings up in order for us to really say, yeah, maybe this isn't right. Probably the most common reason we reject students is they're too young. We just say, you seem like a great kid, but you need to grow up a little bit, you know, come back next year. And that's often the biggest reason that we turn down students, realistically. Okay. And it's really, in that case, it's not even so much turning down as much as deferring for a year and saying, just grow up a little bit more, give yourself some time, and you'll be ready to go next year. Okay. All right. So moving on to the real fun stuff. Danielle is gone, but I'm sure she'd have a big smile on her face if she saw us talking about this. So yeah, is the Youth Exchange Administrative Hub. It's that official repository where we keep all, you know, Youth Exchange documentation. It's all within there. For those of you that don't have an account, if you are going to be involved with Youth Exchange at your club, you will eventually get an account. So if you don't have that, you can email Danielle or anyone on the district committee and go, hey, where's my YA account at? But generally that's where we have, you know, all of our documents and everything related to the inbounds and outbounds that we need to store. It's also where you do the training link for the NIAN training, which is, I believe, like the harassment and violence and youth protection training that we do. Okay, that's all from there. Host families also will be in here as well, both listed, but they'll also complete that NIAN training as a host family. They are required to do that before they become a host family. I think the other big thing there, just inform the district chair if your club's YEO or YEC is changing. And then a number of you already did that when you RSVP'd to me for this meeting. So if you did that to me, I already let Dawn and Ross and Danielle know, so they've updated it. But moving forward, if it changes, please let us know so that we can make sure our records are up to date. I hate to bug people that are, you know, those ones that go, I haven't been involved in the program for 2 years, leave me alone. I'm like, sorry. So try to keep that up to date. All right. And we will be having a training session for YA in January, February. It'll be mostly inbound related tasks. So keep an eye out for that. Obviously, as you can imagine, we're not going to try to shove that into this session. So kind of the ins and outs of where to find stuff and where to do everything you need to do. That'll be in January, February. Okay. Right. Haven't seen anyone nod off yet, so that's a good sign. I do workshops for youth all day, 15 to 29, and they literally fall asleep on me on camera. Often they show up and they're in their bed and I see them start to drift off, and I can yell and punch and scream and nothing wakes them up. So I'm really, really happy that I have an attentive audience here. It was cool. Okay, anyway, next thing is this toolkit that Ross mentioned. So it's basically, many districts have like a YEO handbook. It is essentially the YEO handbook, but I guess we just went with the name toolkit and that's just been what it's called. So it's basically, we wanted to make a one-stop shop where everything that you need resource-wise related to the district is there. So it's a district committee directory, it's a youth exchange calendar, it's outbound recruitment strategies, outbound management strategies, inbound management, you know, everything that you kind of need to know to be successful in your role as a YEO or YEC, we want to provide that to you. However, given that, you know, you are the YEOs and the YECs, you folks have the knowledge and the best practices, we also want your input on it. So what I'm going to be doing is reaching out and giving you kind of the topics and then saying, hey, what can you tell me about this? What is your best practices that you would share with other YEOs regarding this thing or that topic? All right. So the main ones, as you can see, there are outbound recruitment and management, host family recruitment and management, inbound management, and youth exchange committee best practices. Those are really the big headings, but there will be some other smaller things as well. And if you think of a section that I haven't included and you're like, hey, it would be really helpful to include that, we can include that as well. So the nice thing about it being a Google Doc will be that, you know, if Helen gives me some great information, I go ahead and update it. All of you will have the link to it. And the moment you go in and click that link, you've got the most up-to-date version. So it's not like a PDF where you have to constantly download the most up-to-date version, or we're not mailing you a handbook. Whenever you click on that link, you will see the most updated version, which is really great, especially for the district committee directory, as well as for the youth exchange calendar. Okay, so we are going to be reaching out to you for that. I was going to spend some time asking now, but it is getting a little late. So I will just reach out to you separately and say like, hey, Sue, share your strategies with me. You know, I know you've got a ton of experience that you'd probably like to share to make other youth exchange officers' lives easier. So, okay. All right. So question and discussion. We are almost at the end. Thank you for bearing with us. The YEO training schedule. This is the first year that A, we're doing it online, and B, that we are breaking it out into multiple sessions. This used to be a one marathon 3-hour session that we would do in Sarnia and or Walkerton. We're breaking it up this year. So we're doing this session tonight. We are doing another one in November that will cover, I'm going to jump ahead to that actually, that will cover youth protection, host family recruitment, outbound pre-departure engagement, and youth exchange counselor appointment and commitment. Then in March, we'll be talking about inbound program, host family recruitment, and outbound pre-departure engagement. Again, you can see some stuff we are going to touch on each time a little bit, because like we said, you know, host family recruitment, that's a year-round thing, right? But, you know, quick thoughts on that schedule. Like, are folks okay with that? Are people going, oh my God, you want 3 of my nights now? How dare you? Kind of what is your feedback? Before I finish, part of the reason we wanted to break it up is because we know it's a lot of information, especially if you're new to this. We know that information overload is very real. And so we're trying to break it up so that we're presenting you the information when it's a little bit more relevant. So we're talking about the outbound program when you're recruiting outbounds. Then we'll talk about the inbound program, you know, a few months before you receive your inbound. That's kind of what we're hoping to do. But, you know, we are open to your feedback on whether that's a good idea or a bad idea, or just other feedback you have on that change to the schedule. So turn it over to you. Rhonda's giving thumbs up. I see some thumbs up going on. Okay, cool. All right, nice. Okay, cool. The other thing I wanted to mention is currently they are on Zoom, obviously, but as you may have noticed with the dates, November and March, we have conferences in those months. So there was a potential to potentially do it as part of a conference, like on the Friday night, have you all come and stay for dinner and have the option to either Zoom in to the March session or do it from the room with us, you know, on the Friday night. So that might be an option as well, so that you can be in person if you prefer to be in person, or you could be able to Zoom in as well. So we're trying to make it as flexible for you as possible, because we know, you know, if we're having a conference in the States, coming all the way from Tobermory is quite a trek. But some of you may want to, you know, I know some of you really enjoyed seeing the kids in action and seeing them hang out and stuff. So then it's kind of your choice if you'd like to come or like to Zoom in. So, okay. All right, next one, we wanted to mention for district interviews, you're all invited to district interviews and you don't have to interview. we've heard in the past, or we've become aware that some people think if they go, they're going to get stuck on an interview team and they just want to observe and see what's going on. We are happy to have you on an interview team if you'd like to, but by no means is it mandatory. So, you know, if Donna wants to attend and just kind of shoot the shit and see what the inbounds are up to and cause some havoc, you know, that's great. You can absolutely do that. And you can volunteer for other things. If you want to help with the country fair that the inbounds do, great, you can do that as well. So don't think if you volunteer to come to the interview conference, you know, just let us know. This is what I'd like to do at that conference. Some of you love being on interview teams, and they love that. So, okay. Yes, I did just say shit, Mark. I think I broke it's probably one of the 4Ds somewhere, you know, code of policies somewhere. I probably just broke something, but the Zoom meeting hasn't ended yet, and you know, no lightning bolt has come to get me, so I think I'm all right for now. So the spirit of Paul Harris isn't haunting me yet. So, okay. And is there anything? I just want to open this forum to the last two parts there. Anything that as a district committee you would like to see us change or improve, and just any other general questions, comments, or concerns that you have at this point. Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
I think as we start to recruit outbound candidates, I think it's important to have a very forthright discussion with them right off the get-go, saying, you know, this might not happen. You might be a stellar candidate, you might make it through all the interviews and training, but the pandemic could still be raging this time next year. Prepare them for the uncertainty of what the future holds.
Yeah, that's a good point. A sad point, but a fair one for sure. Yeah. Someone just asked about where interviews will be located. No, you didn't miss it. That is TBD at the moment because we're doing this multi-district collaboration. We're thinking the Canadian ones will be, was it Mitchell, Ross, that you were looking at, a place in Mitchell? Yeah, and on the US, I don't remember what the city was called, but not far from the border. It'd be about an hour and a half from London, 2 hours from London. So that would be where it would be on the US side. So actually quite close for the CSRYE clubs and kind of that area. Okay. Other questions, comments, concerns, you know, areas of improvement? You can also email if you have some stuff that you don't want to share with the group, that's fine. Okay, well, in the interest of wrapping up by 9, I will move forward. But again, feel free to, you know, we're always open to feedback, right? We're working on this. We're volunteers as well, trying to get this right. So if you have suggestions or ways we can improve, you know, you want to get more involved at the district level as well, please just let us know, and we're happy to hear that feedback. So, okay. All right.
Kirk,
yes.
Kirk, did you want to mention to some of the new YEOs how they go about completing the volunteer application, where they find the form?
Yeah, so that should be Danielle connecting with you. So if you're a new YEO and Danielle hasn't already reached out to you to do that, you can reach out to Danielle. You can reach out to me as well, and I can get her in contact with you. As I've been hearing about new YEOs, I've been forwarding them to Danielle, or new YECs as well. So I believe everybody would have already been in touch with her, but if there's anyone on here that hasn't, let me know, because she's the one that will get your volunteer application filled out. She'll make sure you've done the necessary training, that you've got a police check on file and that sort of thing. So I believe everybody on here is good to go. I'm trying to think if there's any names on here that doesn't fall under, but I think we're good. Clubs that are involved. I know there's a couple on here tonight that are just observing for interest purposes, and obviously you folks don't have to go through that quite yet. So yeah, thanks, Don. Okay, cool. Let's move forward then. So recap and next steps. There's an immediate list, there's kind of a little ways out list, and then there's a third one. So the very first one is the immediate one. So if you are currently working through your volunteer application, we ask that you do these couple of steps as soon as you can. So that is complete your volunteer application and get it to Danielle. Complete your background check, or your criminal background check, your PVSC, complete the NIAN youth protection training, and review our youth protection policy for our district. Those are the things that we really ask you get that done. We need that in place for our certification from Central States and from Rotary International. So we ask that you make that a priority. Next is, of course, begin recruiting your outbounds, right? Okay. We've got the district session happening on the 19th. So if you could share that, that would be awesome. And then preliminary applications on September 30th and district interviews on November 6th and or 13th. And the other thing is we will be sending out a Google form. That's how we're going to track attendance tonight, or rather confirm attendance. So you'll get an email from me with a whole bunch of resources. One of them will say, hey, here's a Google form we want you to click on to basically prove that you attended. We normally are required to have you sign a form, but since we're doing this online, we're going to use a Google form to kind of act instead of your signature. So it'll just say, this is my name, this is my club, and I agree that these topics were covered on the training session or during the training session. Okay.
As Kirk mentioned, that's part of our certification process for RI.
Yeah, that's not us just being, really intense about stuff. And I see someone saying, please provide a list of club names / YEO and YEC emails so we can share. Now, Ross, do you know whether YEOs can see who the other YEOs are within YA? I thought we thought that is possible.
Yes.
Yes.
It is possible.
So you should, if you already have access, oh, sorry.
If you want us to put together a directory, we can do that. I think that's.
Well, I'm wondering if I can just put it as part of the toolkit. I mean, I've got a district committee directory. Maybe at the end I put YEO and YEC directory as well. Why not have it kind of a one-stop shop? I think that makes sense.
That's fine. Just in terms of privacy rules, if everybody could, to sort of as a way of consenting to that, send your information to us.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
If you send us your contact information and say, please include this in the directory, then we'll crank that out and have it part of the toolkit. If you don't tell us that, then just it's touchy ground to just put people's names and information out there.
I was going to put their Facebook profiles. I was going to put their Instagram accounts. I was going to do the whole thing. Why not?
I mean, as long as you include your credit card information, Kirk, I'm good.
Okay, fair enough. Someone just asked, an existing YEO just asked, how do we know if they're up to date with all their paperwork? We get a flag in when your paperwork or your volunteer application or whenever something expires and needs to be redone, we get a flag. So if Danielle hasn't reached out to you, then you can pretty well assume that your paperwork's in order. Okay. All right. Next one is a little bit further out, but still on the horizon. So think about your club commitment. Again, that was due November 30th. So begin discussing the club for the 22-23 Rotary year, that you're ready to commit. That will be a form that we will send to you after this meeting as well. Then begin recruiting a YEC if you don't already have one. Many clubs tend to have that kind of YEO that does it year after year, but they keep their YEC depending on the gender, the sex of the student. So we know that a lot of you do that, and that's obviously great. So if you can at least have maybe a male and a female potential YEC kind of on the back burner, then that's great. Al, go ahead.
With the November 30th deadline, is that when our fee is due also? The $12.50?
Yes.
That's what my treasurer asked me to ask. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Al. Host family recruitment, again, it's a little ways off for the 2022-2023 year, but again, you want to start that earlier than later. So start thinking of potential host families for when that inbound arrives in the summer. Check out our 6330 RYE page for more info. I do try to keep that up to date so that it's relevant and that the process is there for outbounds, but please check it out and open to feedback on better ways we can manage that. And the toolkit, send us your suggestions and or best practices. I'll be including that in the email that I send to you folks after as well. And last, next step / practice or recap was just the next YEO and YEC training session. So as I mentioned, one will be November 2021. We haven't set a specific day yet. And the next will be March 2022. Again, May tied in with a conference. We might find that that's kind of too much at once and decide to not do that, but it is an option we've been throwing around. So we will let you know and you'll be able to see kind of what we're covering at each one of those. So. All right, then without further ado, Ross, I think we did it. That's it. Okay, and it's like 1 minute before 9 o'clock. I am shocked. So, okay, well, you folks are good to go. Thank you. First of all, just thank you so much for your involvement in the program. Little 17-year-old me, my life was changed thanks to you folks doing what you did. So we really appreciate your continued support, especially coming out of a pandemic. We know that some of you know it's going to be an uphill battle getting back into the program recruiting. So we really appreciate your efforts on this. And keep in touch. Questions, comments, concerns, send them our way. Happy to work with you folks. So and have a good night.